Oh, hello, folks. It's Ken David Stewart from the Ken David Stewart Show. This is like becoming a daily occurrence or something like that. I actually noticed I have a few viewers. It's nothing to write home about, but I'm very glad for the people who do listen, so I'm not just talking to myself in the air every day. Sometimes if you're like me, you get used to seeing a television personality every day or something, like on the news or something, or sports, a sports commentator. You know what? You almost feel like they're a friend of yours, whether you know them or not. You just kind of get used to them. And if you don't watch them for a few minutes or listen to them a day, you get you don't feel right. You feel, oh, I'm missing something today. Uh, so that's the way I hope it becomes with me, you know. And I mean, that's one of the few positives about this lockdown, that people are using their laptops and phones and computers and tablets like crazy because they need to be entertained. Some like me even like to get educated a bit more, and that's all right, you know. But what the heck, I've been looking at some of the viewers I've been getting, and a lot of the names I recognize, believe it or not. I know you from somewhere. Uh, you know, and I figured I'm feeling a little tired today. I don't know if I'm depressed or something, but I'm a little tired. And, usually I try and get a bit of writing done in the mornings, but I didn't this morning, got up a bit late. And, you know, and I didn't do any writing. I'm going to work some more on, alligators in the sewers. I think I got a good chapter coming up, but I got to put it together. That got a lot of hits, the last one. If you're like me, you like these monster stories, a tinge of horror. Well, but anyway, speaking of that, I've got a Samsung tablet, which I love. It's one of the big ones. So I have poor eyesight. And I just stumbled across a book called The Meg by Steve Alton. And I discovered that he's kind of a science fiction, cryptozoology type writer, writes fiction. And I'm reading two of his books now. One is Meg, and it's short for some prehistoric shark, an ancestor of the great white or something, or megalodon or something. I don't know what the heck. It's an awfully big shark anyway, 60 feet or something. Pretty cool. I like it. Always like monster stories. And, anyway, and what else? Because I'm just looking at my Samsung tablet and my Kindle books, and man, I got tons of them. I'm going to go over a few today that I like. Stephen King, my favorite author, besides me. And he, what can you say? I mean, Stephen King seldomly misses when he writes. Like, I don't know how many books he's come out with, but man, they're all pretty good. My favorite was, I think, is still The Stand. And I haven't even made it through that one all the way, and it's very kind of pertinent to today, to us, because it's about the escape from a killer virus that came out of a U.S. lab instead of a China lab. So it's a long, long book, but the characters he has in the story are just fantastic. They're interesting. That's one thing I've always admired about Stephen King, is how well he characterizes people. Okay, what else have I got? I've got a lot of audio Bibles. I've got a lot of visual Bibles too, and on Kindle. And my favorite is actually the Living Bible, which is hard to get a hold of these days. I think Amazon may have it now, but it's kind of a paraphrase. Sort of like The Message, only much better, I think, in my opinion. Uh, Another one I have is the Amplified Bible, and that's if you want, a little more meat, a little more words, that's a little more description, clarification, meanings, all that. And what else have I got on my tablet today? Some books on Bitcoin. I'm kind of interested in that cryptocurrency. I've been studying up on that stuff. Man, I'd love to get rich. Uh, what else? History. Make it perfectly clear. I'm not a Nazi, never have been. But I do find reading about Germany during the time period of the Third Reich to be interesting. So I've got several books on that by Richard J. Evans and a couple others. What else have I got in here? I got hundreds of these things. Books on economics. Now, I've got a story about economics. Most people don't think it's a very interesting topic. I took first year economics when I was at University of Winnipeg. There's a little story about that. I was feeling really bummed out, depressed one day, and I wasn't sure whether I should continue with my first year at university. And personally, I didn't think I was smart enough. So in those days, you had to go see your professor, and the professor had your class card with your name on it, and you had to go and ask him for it and tell him you wanted a voluntary withdrawal, which means you wouldn't get an F. It'd just go down as a VW on your record. So you had to go see the professor and then take the card down to the registrar, and they'd process your voluntary withdrawal. So I went to my economics professor, Victor Olszewski, and I told him, why I was there in his office, and he says, well, like what the heck do you want to quit for? He says, just let me look at my record books for a minute. And he says, Ken, you got a C so far. What's so bad about that? And he says, if you write me a good paper or something, come through in the next test, might bump it up to a D, who knows? What's wrong with that? And he kind of gave me a pep talk. And he told me about how many problems he had in university. And he says, look at me, I became a PhD professor. He said, my advice would be don't quit. And I didn't. So thank God there's a few good teachers and professors like Victor Olszewski around. Okay, that's my economic story. So nothing boring there. Another book I've got is the Merck Manual of Home Medicine, I think it's called. I brought it in one day to show my doctor. I don't know if he was impressed or not, but I find it quite informative. And, if you're like me and you have a lot of what they call comorbid conditions, I find it's helpful when you see your doctor if you do some research, and, it kind of helps you when you're asking the doctor questions and trying to figure out exactly what's wrong with you, and more importantly, how do you treat it? Are there beds for it? What do you do? And if you read the Merck's Home Health Manual, you can get that on Kindle too. It's probably in the library. But it gives you a lot of readable information, and where you can get a pretty good understanding of what's going on with whatever medical condition you have. And for me, that's a lot of them. So it's definitely worth my money there. Oh, what should I talk about? Maybe one more book today. I've got just tons of these things here. A lot of books on writing and how to write. I'm still trying to do it. Still learning. Oh, by the way, I'm just a little too tired today. I was going to do some more work, like I said, on my alligators on the sewer, but I don't know, maybe later today. We'll see. A lot more history books on here. Uh, I've got, you know what I like to buy a lot is these For Dummies books. Now, if you buy them, it doesn't mean you're a dummy. You know, it just means you don't know much about the subject and you'd like to learn a little more. So I've got a whole bunch. And they're kind of cool. They come in these yellow black covers, you know. I've got everything I get interested in, I'll look for a dummies book on. Like I've got poetry for dummies. And then I've got auto repair for dummies, blogging for dummies, WordPress for dummies, when I need to find something out, I find these books are very helpful. Okay, so I want to talk about one more today. Uh, you know, oh, Allen Ginsberg's collected poems. Well, I caution you about reading that. He's a very rock and roll type poet, but his stuff is pretty obscene at times. So I'm not going to make too much comment about that. If you want to read the poetry of Allen Ginsberg at your own risk and hope you aren't easily offended. Okay, and I've got one here, the Marijuana Manifesto by Jesse Ventura, who's very pro-cannabis. That is a good book. Gives you a lot of history about cannabis and the regulations and laws and how they've been changed and everything. Okay, that's enough for my maybe 0.001% of my book collection. Just stuff I kind of randomly picked out. See, I'm lazy today. Don't want to write anything down. Just want to talk. Okay. My CDs reviews got a few hits. Thank you. And for those who like CDs, lots of those on my other Samsung tablet, my black one. I got a black regular size one and an oversized white one. Now, I actually need two of them to fit all my stuff on. And still have stuff I can't fit on. Okay, what album do I see first as I go through my library on SoundCloud? I see The Song Remains the Same by Led Zeppelin, one of my all-time favorite live concert albums. I mean, this one is awesome. And right next to that, I've got Mothership, which was one of their greatest hits collections. I don't agree with all the songs that Jimmy Page picked out on that one, because I think he includes too many songs from their first album. And if you want to hear the songs from the first album, Led Zeppelin 1, just buy Led Zeppelin 1, And, but it's got a lot of the classics on there, so I can't complain too much. Okay, got off my page a little bit. Gonna get back on the albums again. Let's see, who else are we going to talk about today? Oh, Elvis, who can forget Elvis? I mean, what can you say? He was the king of rock and roll. That's all you can say. It's like Bob Dylan, greatest songwriter of his generation. What can you say? Oh, and Megadeth. Dave Mustaine. Megadeth. I reviewed the book about Mustaine not too long ago. And it's a very good book. Read my review. And there's a box set called War Chest. And you really gotta like the heavy metal shredding for this one. And Dave Mustaine's a master at that. What else do I have here today? Well, I got all the albums by the Stones pretty well. Even a lot of the bootlegs. And for me, the Stones kind of died around 1968 with the passing of Brian Jones. I mean, he wasn't their songwriter or anything like that. He wasn't even their best guitarist. But he could play so many instruments and he could add so much to a song that I think when they actually fired him before he passed. You know, and the band they were still good, but I don't think they were ever the same after they lost Brian. And going through a whole bunch, Nirvana, what can you say? Kurt Cobain, I think, was also a voice of his generation in the 90s. And they had some awesome material. You know, Kurt could actually scream in tune. And some of his songs are kind of Beatlesque in some ways. And then when I was reading one of his biographies, I found out that his mother had a lot of Beatle albums that he used to listen to. I really like them. Okay. What else have I got today that I want to talk about today in terms of albums? I got a lot of Bob Dylan here, and they're a mixed bag. Some are classics. Some are not so great. They're kind of like throwaways. The Dave Clark Five, the hits. They were probably the first rivals to the Beatles, and they were a good band from Britain at the time. They were a very good band, and I still enjoy listening to their music today. What else should I talk about today? What else is going to come up? I'm noticing when I like one artist, I tend to, download practically all their stuff. Pretty close. Oh, another band I have here, the Ramones. Oh, yes. I didn't discover them until a few years ago. They're a punk band. We're a punk band. And their music was very short, very fast. And I liked them. Leather jackets and all that. They were, one of the ultimate punk bands. Okay. Now, Paul Revere and the Raiders. I know I'm aging myself, but you look at my picture, I'm no spring chicken. Yeah, 1965, 66, I used to love Paul Revere and the Raiders. They were one of the greatest show bands of all time. I definitely recommend one of their greatest hits compilations. And a lot of people don't know about Christian rock. Sometime I'll do a video about Christian rock. I think there's such a thing. The one I'm looking at here is The Very Best of Bride. My wife doesn't like it. It's heavy, heavy rock. But I kind of like it. But I've listened to it with headphones on. Okay. And I could do a whole video later on of, Christian rock bands. But anyway. I'm kind of talked out for now. I hope you all have a good day. Nice, relaxing, safe day, or do something that's fun. So anyway, this is Kid David Stewart signing off for a Saturday morning. And if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do.